Not at all. Richard Sherman has rarely been more accurate about something in his life than he is about Matthew Stafford. And I get why Richard Sherman is saying what Richard Sherman is. Because Matthew Stafford don't belong in this congregation of Hall of Famers.
Oh, really?
First, let's start with Matthew Stafford's most near and dear relatives, those Hall of Famers on the Rams squad. Because when I look at Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, all those cats should be Hall of Famers. Well, Von Miller, 7 Pro Bowls, 7 All-Pros, 8 Pro Bowls.
Jeez.
Aaron Donald, 7 All-Pros, 8 Pro Bowls. Jalen Ramsey, 3 All-Pros, 5 Pro Bowls. So I'm like, when I look at you, Matthew Stafford, with your Rams fans and your Rams teammates, you're not near them. Okay, now let me look at you, Matthew Stafford, with the quarterbacks of this generation that we know are going into the Hall of Fame. Let's take a look at that. Okay. Tom Brady, 6 All-Pros, 15 Pro Bowls. Drew Brees, 5 All-Pros, 13 Pro Bowls. Y'all can see the list. Matthew Stafford, you don't fit in with your Rams teammates going into the Hall, and Matthew Stafford, you don't fit in with the quarterbacks going into the Hall. Well, let's just look at NFL players currently playing that are going into the Hall. Whether it's Antonio Brown, 5 All-Pros and 7 Pro Bowls. Whether it's DeAndre Hopkins, 5 All-Pros and 5 Pro Bowls. Whether it's Julio Jones, 5 All-Pros and 7 Pro Bowls. Whether it's Bobby Wagner, 8 All-Pros and 8 Pro Bowls. Or Richard Sherman, the author, the speaker, 5 All-Pros and 4 Pro Bowls. But then you look at Stafford. No All-Pros.
Leave that man alone.
1 Pro Bowl. If I'm Richard Sherman, I'm like, get him out the club. No white tees in the club. I don't want this riffraff in my section if I am Richard Sherman.
That is not a tee.
I get it. So we've all been in this situation, and y'all stop acting different than Richard Sherman because y'all are no different than him. Valentine's Day, I'll personalize it, and then I'll let y'all personalize it.
You didn't have a Valentine's, or did you?
I didn't. I went with my best friend, my dog Cheaty. Shout out to my dog. You met him at the movie.
Yeah, Cheaty the homie.
I went with my dog, and I went to a BOA steakhouse. Maybe it's BOA, BOA. I'm not that fancy.
Bank of America steakhouse?
Something like that.
What'd you do?
I went to BOA Steakhouse.
Transfer
and
funds?
When you make, bro, your RSVP, it says there is a dress code allowed.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm like, a dress code allowed? Well, let me make sure I look at the dress code to make sure they don't kick me out, right? So I click on the joint, and it's like dress code, no sandals, no tank tops, no overly and excessively revealing clothing. And I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
Because while there are people that are going to be inside this fine establishment, dressed to the nines, dressed to a T, they do not want riffraff inside their establishment, bringing down the dining experience, bringing down the value of the establishment, because people are going to be in there dressed the part, looking the part, based on their attire, have earned the right to enter into the building. They do not want anybody in that steakhouse on this Valentine's Day that's going to bring down the value of the steakhouse, the value of the meal, or the quality of the experience. Matthew Stafford trying to get into the Hall of Fame with sandals on.
Stafford, that's a lie.
Stafford trying to get into the Hall of Fame in a tank top.
Sir.
He trying to get into the hall with a backwards hat on, okay? Richard Sherman in there in a suit.
Oh, man.
You know what I'm saying? Tom Brady in there in a tux. Aaron Rodgers going to be in that thing in a 3-piece.
Oh,
and then here going to come Stafford in that hasn't shaved, with some flippy floppies and some short shorts, talking about, what's up, dudes? And Sherman is like, no, I don't want this riff-raff in my Hall of Fame, because all the guys I'm going in here with have earned the right, and this man, statistically speaking, has not.
Acho went there. Woo! Now I know where you are. Now I know you're right next to Richard Sherman, and both of you guys are out of line. Let's say this, and let's start here. Everything Richard Sherman said was valid.
Yes, sir.
He read him his resume. And if someone reads you your resume and you feel a certain type of way and it's not good, then you got a problem with yourself. So I'm not mad at Richard Sherman for reading his resume. I'm actually mad at Richard Sherman for the spirit in which he read said resume.
Okay, talk to me.
Now let's talk about that. This is a violation. This is a felony. You know why? Because I played in the game and I walked around in the locker room where they say, hey, dog, no matter what we going through, don't put your hands in my pockets. You know what that meant? That meant basically don't talk about my money, right? Well, let me add something to that conversation. It's one thing to talk about my money, but my play will dictate my money. So you can talk about my money all you want. If I'm balling, I'm getting paid. But don't you dare talk about my legacy, because guess what? That's what others think of me, and that will be in stone. Wait a minute. Someone who's already a bona fide Hall of Famer. Richard Sherman is a walking, living legend. We know that. He's in the Hall of Fame, kicking back with sandals on or a three-piece suit. He getting in no matter what he shows up in for the dress code. But the thing about it is, why are you trying to keep the door closed? Is that the fraternity? Is that the soul of the fraternity?
I like it.
You know what I'm talking about.
Go there, sir. I like it.
We used to say, keep the door open because we want to incentivize and make everybody know, if you ball, this is for you. If you are a beast, this is for you. If you got the numbers, this is for you. Why is Richard Sherman being a gatekeeper?
I like it.
Why is Richard Sherman sitting there saying, nah, not you? What is your criteria? If the criteria is, he just got one Super Bowl and no Pro Bowls. Wait a minute, Richard Sherman. Let me remind you that Mark Zuckerberg broke this down a long time ago when he was staring at Wall Street executives in three-piece suits every day, burning both ends of the candle and midnight oil, looking the part. He was like, you ain't got to do all that to get something done.
Okay.
Matthew Stafford, if you look at his numbers, yeah, he is already in the Hall of Fame. But then if you look at his appearance, as you said, just one Super Bowl and no Pro Bowls, he like,
one Pro Bowl, yes, sir.
One Pro Bowl? Yes, he's like, I'm Zuckerberg. I got it done. Look at these numbers. He's going to end up with projections right now. This is insane. You trying to tell, this dude is projected, if he plays 5 more years with the Rams, let's just say, 74,000 yards, 528 touchdowns, just using his same averages 5 more years. You know who those quarterbacks look like? Check these sandals out. Brady, Breeze, Manning, and Favre. Only ones with 70,000 yards and 500-plus TDs. So, bruh, stop being a gatekeeper. Stop being, I hate to say it, a hater.
I got something for you. Y'all gonna get ready for this conversation. So I got to call you out. I got to personalize this.
Because of what I wear?
No, sir.
Oh.
I know you haven't been to the club in a while. But I'm going to take you back. I'm going to take y'all back.
Not to BOA, though.
No, not to BOA, not Bank of America Steakhouse. I'm going to take y'all back. All right. So remember when you used to go to the club with your boys when you're in the league, right? Before your Sunday game, you might go out on Thursday night or you might go out on Sunday night. I'm going to let y'all on a secret. We're not just always watching film.
Hello.
Okay. When you're in the club, it's like this. You got the cats that are in the club, they're standing and they're dancing, they pouring drinks. You got some of the cats that are trying to recruit different people to the club, you know what I'm saying?
Recruit?
You got some cats that aren't actually sitting on the seat of the chair, but sitting on the chair back because you got a better view of everybody and everything in the club. Then you have this one individual, and this individual might be the most valuable individual in the entirety of the section. This one individual. The person that's the gatekeeper of who's getting behind the velvet ropes into your section.
I knew it.
Because whoever pays for the section isn't the gatekeeper. They usually the most lit, right? They got the most drinks. They turned up. They got too much other stuff going on. They distracted by the honeys in the section. They distracted by their boys in the section. But it's usually this person, and it's often been me because I'm the sober individual there. I'm sitting on a seat back, and I'm looking like, oh, no. Nah, security. That person can't come in this section. Why? Not because I'm a hater, not because I'm jealous, not because I'm envious, because I do not want to devalue what we currently have in this section by allowing somebody either who I don't know, who ain't dressed the part, who don't look the part, to come into the section. Because if they come into the section, you've now undermined what we got going in the section. Because Stell showed up to the club. What's up, big dog? He was fresh. My other homeboy showed up to the club. What's up, yo? They was fresh. Stell's homegirls hit him up. Hey, we coming through. We bringing a couple of our friends. Stell texts him back. Hey, how they look? You know us. Okay, bet. They come through. They look good. They was fresh. So now we sitting here and we're looking like, who is trying to come into this section? And I got to be the one, like Richard Sherman, to be like, hey, nah, man, they can't come in here. Not because I'm a hater. I don't want them to devalue what we got going on in this section. I'll give it to you one more way. I'll give it to y'all one more way.
Another club?
Not another club. Now a more humble example we can all relate to. So I'm sure you get asked all the time, as do I, hey, Marcellus, would love to have you come on this podcast.
Yeah.
Emmanuel, would love to have you come on this podcast.
I will one day, y'all.
If I do not ask this question, they present me this information before I ever have to ask. here are the guests that have come on before.
Yes, they do. They do.
Every single time they say, Emmanuel, would love to have you on this podcast. McConaughey's been on. Reese Witherspoon has been on. Jennifer Aniston has been on. Michelle Obama has been on. And they're doing that because they want to let you know the caliber of person that you are going to be participating with. And based upon who has been on before, at least I will not speak for Marcellus, but at least this individual right now, currently speaking, will make a decision of whether I want to be on that podcast based upon who has been on before. Because I want to know, what company am I keeping? Richard Sherman is simply trying to make sure that the company of the Hall of Fame is elite, that the company of the Hall of Fame is exquisite, that the company of the Hall of Fame is top tier. Because just like podcasts, just like clubs, just like restaurants, just like all of us individuals, we all are gatekeepers of something. And Richard Sherman wants to make sure the Hall of Fame maintains its being as the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of good, not the Hall of inflation, not the Hall of overrated, but the Hall of Fame.
Whew. I am not mad at you. I'm just different than you.
Uh-oh.
Let's stay in the club.
Okay.
And we actually talked about this 2 weeks ago, but I'll remind you and I'll remind everyone else again. I was the one that had to put the credit card down. Damn right, black card, here you go. And then I was also the one that said, all comers. Everybody is welcome in my section. You know why? Because that's just who I am. Now, the reason I had that rooting interest is because I used to be the guy on the outside of the ropes. As Richard Sherman, as a wide receiver in college, who converted to being a defensive back, who at first people didn't really see as being a future Hall of Famer, should understand. My brother from Compton, he knows this. We've been on the outside looking in, right? And now he's on the inside looking out, and he decides to poison the well instead of keeping the doors wide open. That's a different spirit. So when I'm at the club, Cass used to come up to me all the time. Wally, what's up, what's up? Can I get a drink? Sure. Because you know why? I know how this night's going to end. First of all, I'm winning. Second of all, we ain't going to drink all this. So I used to hate Cassie. Yeah, there you go. Hey, Richard. Hey, Acho, I see y'all over there. I hated those drink counters. I used to call them drink counters. Dog, why you over there chin checking everybody? Hey, they ain't in our section. Who that? Oh, they had a drink. They had 2 drinks. I was like, dog, you know how this ends, right? At the end of the night, we always stuck with these bottles and these models. Let me stop. So here's the thing. Don't be a drink counter, Acho, because why do you care? If he has the numbers to get them in, why are you tripping and not letting them in? Let me just give you this comparison, since we're talking numbers first. You gave me so many examples. Good Lord, I'm going to go everywhere. Matthew Stafford right now, 86, 95, and 1, right? 50,000 yards. Different eras. But Dan Fouts, 43,000 yards. Warren Moon, 49,000 yards. Different eras, right? So we're not going to go there. Winning record, Warren Moon, 1 game over 500. Stafford, probably by next year, if not the year after, definitely going to be well above 500. But right now, under 500. Here's where it gets funny. Here's where it gets really funny. In terms of all-pros, how many times was Warren Moon an all-pro? Same as Stafford. In terms of Super Bowl appearances, how many times did Dan Fouts and Warren Moon go to the Super Bowl? Not a single time. Matthew Stafford 1 time and won 1. You start to look at who's in your section. You know when the lights come on, people look different, right? Matthew Stafford gets in the section. You're like, how he get in here? Turn the lights on. Look at some of these other guys in there. And I'm not taking shots at any of these guys because they're all legends. But that's the point. Let's not take shots at Matthew Stafford when he qualifies to be in same section. My last point is this.
Talk to me, sir.
You and Richard Sherman are trying to melt a snowball. Y'all telling on yourselves. Why are we holding an A-block conversation on Matthew Stafford? You want to know why? Because we know he got something. If he didn't have something, if he wasn't right there on the in the balance, on the line, in terms of Hall of Famer or not, we would never leave this show with this. But that's my point. The dude has qualifications that's making this a conversation. And now you're going to try and squash it with some haterade? Not fair, bro.
I don't want to squash it. I want to elaborate on it, but I'll give it to you like this.
Let's go.
I'm going to give y'all this one. I love when Stell talks. He makes me think, stimulates the mind, tries to give y'all a better show.
Let's do it.
Marcellus Wiley, based upon your NFL contracts, in 1900, you would have been the 19th richest person in the world.
Really?
Yeah. Why?
Born too late.
Why? Because of inflation.
Yeah.
Because 50, 60, 40, 70 million dollars right now would have put you at 19th richest in the world. Damn. However, we have to understand inflation occurs.
Yeah.
So $40 million, really $51 million right now, does not put you in the top 20 richest people in the world.
Hell no.
But $51 million back then would put you in the top 50 million people in the world. Why the heck does that matter? Because we looking at Matthew Stafford and all these passing yards, but it wasn't a passing league back then, y'all.
Facts.
So while Matthew Stafford will end up as the 5th highest passer in NFL history, or maybe the 2nd highest passer in NFL history, we have to understand NFL history, like American history, like American money throughout history, has changed and inflated. So we cannot compare my income or Marcellus Wiley's income to that of John D. Rockefeller in 1918, and we can't compare Matthew Stafford's passing yards to that of Bart Starr's passing yards in the mid-1900s, because things have inflated. Right. So if the greatest thing Matthew Stafford has done in the National Football League is achieve inflated stats because of a pass-happy league we all have, plus an additional game, can we call it real? And the second greatest thing is Matthew Stafford has the most come-from-behind victories in NFL history. To come back from behind, you got to be behind.
You got to be behind. You know I don't give that stat no love.
So if the greatest things we are praising Matthew Stafford for, not Marcellus, but in totality, the greatest thing we're praising Matthew Stafford for is the fact that he was behind. Thus, he had to come back from being behind, and he's passed for a lot of yards. But in the NFL right now, because of inflation, everybody has passed for a lot of yards, a pass-happy league. Then what are we really praising Matthew Stafford for? Cooper Kupp has just as many Super Bowls, just as many Pro Bowls, more All-Pros, and is a Super Bowl MVP. Matthew Stafford doesn't have the All-Pro Cooper Kupp has, doesn't have the MVP Cooper Kupp has, and got the same number of Pro Bowls and less. Come on, man. Hold on. Come on, man.
Hey, Acho, did you just get a haircut? You look real sharp and crispy.
My dog.
You do, huh? Yeah. Yeah, it looks good, but I think he went a little too deep. Might have got to your brain a little bit, a little hippocampus or something. I don't know, because what are you talking about?
What happened?
We were taught not to close doors. And you guys are closing doors, and it's not because of likability. It's just because you're saying, I don't see enough. But then I would retort, you're not looking at the right things. Since you don't want to talk inflated numbers, and I get that. You can't always talk in these aggregate numbers, especially when things are different. Okay. Back in those days, all pros mattered, and was that an inflated stat? No. Well, I'm looking at other guys in the Hall of Fame, same amount of all pros as my man Matthew Stafford. I'm looking at other guys in the Hall of Fame. It's Super Bowl wins and appearances, inflated stat, because they cared about Super Bowls back then. No. Well, I see Matthew Stafford beating Hall of Famers in that same category. I can give it to you the way you want it.
I want names. I want names.
I gave you names.
I want names right now.
Warren Moon, Dan Fouts.
Stafford does not have more Pro Bowls than Warren Moon, sir.
I didn't say Pro Bowls, but Pro Bowls. no, you know, Pro Bowls is interesting.
Yeah, because Mac Jones is in a Pro. Mac Jones and Matthew Stafford got the same number.
It goes bad and it goes good.
I'm with you. I'm not mad.
In short, Pro Bowls is tough because you could be in an era with 3 quarterbacks that we already filled in those names. You know, Aaron Rodgers.
Doesn't that matter? Again, sorry, we going everywhere, but y'all got to go everywhere with us. Doesn't that matter to you, Sel? Like, if you were never one of the best in any of the years you played. Like, Matthew Stafford
That's not Pro
was
Bowl,
never
though.
All-Pro. Matthew Stafford was never one of the top 2 quarterbacks in none of his 13 years.
Neither was Warren Moon, and you're not going to sit here and shoot at Warren Moon, are you? He was insane.
But at least Warren Moon, I think, has, 6, 7 Pro Bowls to his name? 9 Pro Bowls to his name?
But that's my point. Pro Bowl is a popularity contest.
So you were never popular?
No.
Stafford was popular once?
In Detroit, you know how long it took for Eminem to get signed? Dog, it takes a while for you to get discovered in Detroit. Trust me. And he like the best rapper ever lyrically, and it took him forever to get discovered. Boy, you ain't been to Detroit, have you? Here we go. Quarterbacks with 50,000 yards and Super Bowl title. I know these are inflated stats, but look who all benefited from the inflation. Brady, Breeze, Manning, Favre, Roethlisberger, another Manning, Rodgers, and Elway. That's going back to 1983, bruh. And you trying to tell me that Matthew Stafford, since he's in that club, doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame?
Here's why.
Yeah, you better keep cutting me off because I don't know.
Talk to me. I was with, who do you think the greatest quarterback to ever play the game is?
The greatest is Tom Brady. Best? Peyton Manning.
But some people might argue Joe Montana, right?
Yeah, of course.
I was with Joe Montana this past weekend. We were all with so many random people. With Joe Montana, we shared a good conversation.
Love this.
Many would argue he's one of the greatest quarterbacks, if not the greatest quarterback to ever play the game.
Facts.
Joe Montana ain't sniffed 50,000 yards.
No, he didn't.
Sniff it.
He didn't.
Like, did not come near 50,000 yards.
Right.
He would have had to play, based upon his numbers, an additional 5 to 6 years to get to 50,000 yards.
Yeah.
So Matthew Stafford's doing something that literally you couldn't have done prior to, 1985, 1987, 1990?
Yeah.
Just based upon the nature of the game.
But don't you cut it up like that, because of all the names I gave you.
Talk to me.
That was 83 draft all the way to present day.
Yes, sir.
So when you're in an era with Brady and Breeze and Roethlisberger and Favre and Rodgers, and you do what they do, something going on, big dog, that's good to me. All right, you know what? I'm not even going to bore you with these numbers. That he's better than Hall of Famers in a lot of categories. But inflation, look, Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, I don't want to even go there. This is where I want to go. This is my last point. You said initially, and this was an amazing example, about how he just doesn't look like he belongs in the club, and he may devalue it, all right? And that's a mindset of uniform behavior that you said at restaurants, Valentine's Day. It happens in the NFL in terms of our dress code, like we want you guys to look uniform. And you also see it in the military. Look a certain way, you're going to act a certain way. But I've noticed, especially of late, with the youngsters, it doesn't matter necessarily how it looks. Just know what to look for. And if you look at Matthew Stafford, and I hate to say it, man, I know that the bar has been lowered. And it wasn't lowered because of Matthew Stafford. He's just now going to benefit more so because it's already been lowered. You know who his greatest supporter was? It wasn't his wife. It was Julian Edelman, who obviously has an incentive to say, yeah, let Matthew Stafford in there because of his postseason and his success. Because then Julian Edelman benefits from that same mindset and narrative. But if y'all really like, objectively, blind resume, looking at Matthew Stafford in Detroit, comes here 1 year, whatever kind of team this is, contending team, wins a Super Bowl, with those numbers, you guys are going to exclude him seriously?
Yes, and I got more on it later. I got more on it, and I have the exact reason why later.